Good morning. My name is Kaylin Simon, graduate. Graduate of the class of 2013, and this year I've been working as an intern in campus ministry and the athletic department and coaching track. 241 days ago, at 8:05 a.m., this same scripture was read to you all. My guess is most of you, if not all of you, do not have any recollection of this, or at least vague memories of what happened on that day, as it was filled with anticipation, chaos, and excitement. 241 days ago was the first day of school. That morning, Mr. Westmiller explained to you and to all of us the story of Jeremiah, and that moment when God assures him and us that he does not make mistakes. God does not call us to do anything we are incapable of doing. God says to Jeremiah, "I know you better than you know yourself. I know you can do this. It often seems overwhelming, but I know you will grow into somebody that you do not even recognize." These are the same words Mr. Westmiller used to summarize the same scripture. The passage is all about knowing your path, understanding your journey, and having faith that things will unfold the way God plans. So much has happened in the span of time between now and then. I assure you, you are not the same person you were back then. Freshmen, you've watched as hours have turned into days, sophomores of days have turned into weeks, juniors as weeks have turned into months, and seniors as months have turned into years. 4 to be exact. You cannot even comprehend the amount of information you've soaked up this past school year. And no, I am not referring to how many tests you've taken, projects you've completed, or hours you've spent doing homework, because it's a lot. I am referring to that which happened outside of your textbooks and off the screens of your iPads, because most of that information will fade not long after you learn it. Instead, you are learning or learned how to communicate effectively with classmates, friends, and teachers, how to manage your time to fit your academics, social life, and extracurriculars into a 24-hour span of time, wake up the next morning, and do it all over again. You're learning how to think and critically problem solve, which in reality has nothing to do with the multiple choice answers of A, B, or C, but in the process in itself, and in hopes how to be a genuinely good person, a leader, and a faith-filled individual. And maybe you feel as if you have not mastered any of this, and that's great, because at least you've grown and been challenged in all these areas since that first day of school. There have been a number of teachers who have shared their experiences of being fearless with you, most of which started with them showing their own acts of fearlessness at this very podium. During the grind of the school year, each of them have imparted key pieces of wisdom, hope, and advice that I hope you will remember in hearing a second time. In August, Mr. Westmiller challenged us all to do 4 things. One second. Perfect. Okay. Back in it. Okay. So in August, Mr. Westmiller challenged us to do 4 things. Number 1, feel fear, but choose love. Ms. Shimshock in November said, "We can choose to be stifled by fear or rise above it. This choice is ours." Mr. Olson made the decision to rise above his fear on the day of his wedding, when he chose to turn off the shark music. He made the conscious decision that morning to approach his day with love. Number 2, practice courage every day, but start with the small things. Like Dr. Cooper in March, who explained her decision to join the band after not making the swim team. The small things that ultimately altered her outcome and put her on a path that was much more amazing than intended. Number 3, stand up for what is right. In October, Mr. Walker quoted Emerson Roy, who said, "Courage is not the absence of fear. True courage manifests in bravely doing what has to be done, in spite of fears or foes or the foolishness of the crowd or the taunts of the group. True courage is doing the right thing in spite of the odds, opposition, or apprehension." And number 4, which is less of a challenge and more of something for you to know that you are not alone on this journey. In February, Mrs. Zachmeyer shared her brave decision to return home from college. Through feelings of worry, disappointment, and failure, she was welcomed home by family, friends, and smiling faces, and found a new path to pursue. This year, we have all been on a journey and attempting to be fearless. As Mr. Matthews stated, fearless, I am not, but I'm working on it. And I think we too have been working on it. Like Jeremiah, we often question God's plan for us and our plan for ourselves. I wish I could be that sounding board for you all and confidently say, I've been in your shoes. Well, not your exact same shoes, because I absolutely hate when people say that as a way to reassure you that down the line, everything will fall into place. But nonetheless, I walked in similar shoes. Lace-up white Vans to be exact. And I walked down a parallel path as you all, down these crowded hallways at Mitty. I proudly wore my Spirit Week shirts. I cheered at games in these same bleachers, went on mini retreats, and even cried endless nights when I felt like I couldn't finish my homework. I went to college, I graduated grad school, and look at me now. I'm 23 years old, and I know my plan. But I'd be lying, and I know that lying is a bad thing. So, the truth is, I honestly have no idea what my plan is. Whoa. I grew up with an older brother who in kindergarten, as he played on the living room floor with his Legos, that he wanted to be an architect. And 25 years later, he's working at Google as an architect. Or like Yesenia, a Mitty student who wants to be a congresswoman, Belen, who wants to be a marine biologist, or Paige, a neurologist. And I know if that's what they want to be, that's what they will become. But for me, I had, and still have, absolutely no idea what I want to be when I grow up. Just the thought of answering that dreaded question was terrifying and overwhelming, and even as I got older, I still had not figured out the answer. So of course, I did what anybody writing a speech did. I made other people answer that dreaded question. And at that moment, I found my inspiration through the female track athletes. I walked down the aisle on the way to St. Ignatius for our track meet and asked a handful of ladies, out of the blue, one by one, what do you want to be when you grow up? Man, you should have seen the look on their faces. Utter confusion and a blank stare. Amelia, Ashley, Hunter, Elise, Tori all responded with, I don't know. Or my favorite, when I asked senior Camille, she paused for a brief second saying, Coach, you're asking a very complicated question. And so I said, okay, Camille, give me the very complicated answer. And she said, I have no idea. So I said great and walked back to the front of the bus, opened up my laptop, and started typing in my Word document. Facing a society which basically outlines what it means to be successful, often happiness seems to fall by the wayside. And especially living up to this Bay Area standard, it's a daunting task. Even my dad, who happens to be sitting right there, ever so lovingly encouraged me to major in computer science or business. And at the time, I couldn't imagine of spending 4 years doing something I absolutely had no interest in. So instead, I majored in international studies, a liberal arts degree, which was inspired by my ECJ South Africa class, and I loved it. It has not led me down any particular career path, which is a bit frustrating in a way, but it influenced my view of the world, and if for nothing else, it was so worth it. So for those of you, and I know this holds true for a lot of you, deep down, you have absolutely, positively no idea what you want to be or what's next on your journey. Whether it's playing for your sports team next year, what job you'll have this summer, what college you'll attend, or what career you will pursue, it's okay. Heck, it's more than okay. It's downright commendable. To me, that's fearless. To push back on a society that tells you that you must know your life's plan by the age of 16. And you know what? It's also fearless to try something and realize, actually, that's not for me, because you won't know unless you try. So all I want you to do is try. And if you try something and you realize, that's not for me, try something else. Keep trying until you find it, regardless of what you think you should do. Being back at Mitty this year has given me the chance I so desperately needed to slow down before jumping into something next. Since my graduation in May, I realized instead of looking at the end of my journey, I must push forward in small increments. I take risks in applying for things that I am interested and passionate in, but may have little interest, and at the same time, avoid doing things for the simple fact that they are safe or easy to fall into. And yes, even though I do get rejected for this approach, I continue to try. I know that I am placing building blocks on a path with no predetermined destination. because that part I am not in control of. God controls that piece, and I'm learning to be okay with that. I don't know what is next, but I want to thank you all, so many of my colleagues, many of the students, and the athletes I coach, for giving me the faith in my own ability for greatness, hope for the brightness of future generations, even through terrible song lyrics and obsessive social media, and the love that manifests in this community. Like Jeremiah, I may question, and question often, but at the end of the day, I believe that God does not make mistakes, and His is ultimately the plan that will unfold. The one thing I do not question is that 241 days ago, I am not the same person I am today. I'm better. Thank you.